first Yellow University live session. For this last week, we have been releasing materials about Web3, the basics of internet, basics of blockchain, and what this whole thing means for our future. There is some more content to come today and in the upcoming days of the week, and for the next 4 weeks, that will be topped up with some live session and community interactions. As for today's stream, we have a few very important guests, our partners, and also a representative of Yellow Network team. We will be talking about the evolvement of Web3, what it means for us, and basically you will be able to hear the first-hand experience from people who are actually building the Web3. So let me present our guests. We have Vilma Mattila from 5ire, who's our partner. You can say a few words about you and the project, if you may.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vilma. I have been in crypto for the past 8 years. I am founder of this layer 1 blockchain focused on sustainability aspects, as well as currently we work with enterprises and governments such as Government of India and Google, Microsoft, a few others. And we welcome, of course, everybody to build on 5ire. And on my side, I also advise Techstars. And I'm investor. I have a fund called Node Capital. We have currently invested in 78 companies.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure having you with us. Another guest is a community person from Moonions, the community-focused tokens that has joined us as a partner recently. Could you say a couple of words about yourself as well and the project?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm from Moonions, in crypto since 2004, experienced 2 bull markets, and as a community manager. And what we try to accomplish is realized Moon for the community, where play together, earn together.
Thanks a lot. We have one more guest joining right now from Flaq. And for now, let me introduce Vanya, a business analyst from Yellow Network, who will also be sharing some experience about the Web3 and how we are dedicating and contributing to have it become a more common thing in our lives and take crypto mainstream. So with that said, let's start. Oh. Akshita is here. Can you hear us? Okay, great. So Akshita Goyal is a representative of a project called Flaq. It's also an educational platform, and we are excited to have this stream be a reveal of partnering with Flaq. Akshita, maybe you can say a few more words about yourself and the project.
Yes, sure. Am I audible?
Yes, your video is on, your audio is fine.
Awesome, great. So hi everyone, I'm Akshita Goyal. I am from India. I am the co-founder of Flaq Club, FLAQ. It's essentially an educational platform to onboard Web2 users to Web3. And we do this in a multilingual manner. So we have educational content available in English, Hindi, Spanish, Bengali, etc. And we focus on practical learning a lot. So we have interactive simulations built on different testnet chains such as Solana, Ethereum, Algorand, etc. And the idea is that when we spoke to most Web2 folks, they often faced a mental barrier towards performing on-chain actions on Web3. Like, for instance, creating a wallet or swapping tokens was something that they found risky or complicated. And so the idea is to simulate the process in a very interactive sense and sort of ease the process of onboarding onto Web3, onto each of these chains, right? So that's a brief of what Flaq does and what I do. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So with that said, let's start on a live discussion. We will be going through some questions about Web3. What made you come into Web3? What's your idea about the future of it? And so let me start with just some like very simple basic thing. How would you define Web3? Because there's like so many talks about Web3 right now, and there's lots of projects that claim to reinvent Facebook or Google in Web3 space. Like, how should average users navigate this world, and how should they see if a project is really Web3 and what this concept means for us? I will let anyone start. We can just talk and add your comments. Have this like as a little educational podcast, I suppose.
I would say transfer of value or public anonymity recognition through smart contracts. So Web 1 was obviously read, Web 2 read and write, and Web 3 read, write, and participate while preserving your own identity. So the identity aspect here and own data is the key.
All right, thanks a lot. Vanya, Akshita?
Yes, I would say, Vanya, please go ahead.
No, please move on. I will continue.
Okay. I would just like to say that since Flaq really focuses on talking to most Web2 people, we've realized that at least the way that the news portrays it to everybody, a lot of people associate Web3 to only cryptocurrencies or only NFTs, right? They don't actually understand that Web3 as a space extends to so much more, extends to DeFi, DAOs, GameFi now, DeSci, metaverse. It's like just constantly expanding, but it's not only associated to crypto and NFTs. And so I would say that to define Web3, we need to understand that there are multiple aspects to the space itself. And as very well explained previously, that it is a read, write, participate era that we're entering, focused on ownership of everything that we sort of produce, right? All of our data, our identities, and everything. And so I think the awareness just to people in Web2 about how it's all aspects and not just crypto and NFTs is something that's extremely important right now to encourage mass adoption.
Not that much to it, to be honest. But in addition, yeah. So the key feature here it is a section of participation of the users, and historically it all started with double spending problem. And this kind of double spending problem, it's not related only to cryptocurrencies. It's actually kind of related to any kind of sphere which is human can be participated. Like it can be politics, it can be kind of social environments, it can be some kind of gaming related stuff. And let's say we can cover this kind of double spending problem in many kind of spheres, and even inside different companies, you can see that there are some kind of different projects that are actually hardly differ between each other, because some projects try to solve hard financial problems. Some projects are related to let's say more fresh gaming industry, and some projects are related to, let's say, to the social network of the next generation, something like this. Yeah, so it's all kind of connected.
Great, thanks a lot. Actually, let me mention that to all our viewers, you can ask any sort of questions you have about either the Yellow University. Oh, Vanya disappeared, but that's all right. He's coming back. You can ask any questions about Yellow University, about Web3, blockchain. The questions about Web3 and blockchain will be answered as we go. The questions about university will be answered in the end, so we don't divert from our topic. And with that said, MM from Moonions, maybe you have something to add to the definition of the Web3 and how your project sees it, and whether you consider yourself a Web3 project.
Of course. In my version of WebTat, there's a new internet coming up, very internet where intelligence, machine learning, currency are, and in my opinion, this Web3 decentralized way, a proof of ownership, the kind of power to the people and centralized entities. Three for me is ability for anyone to build something great. And how how is to Moonions? We give the opportunity by creating a Moonions fun, decentralized, a good way to interact with people that are like-minded together and enjoy our communities. Also, financial freedom. That's Web3.
Okay, thank you so much. I think you might be having some slight problems with your connection, so if you might take a moment to enhance the internet signal, that would be great. In the meantime, let me ask a couple questions from the community. So, oh, I quite like this one. It's like the best question, the open kind of question. So which do you think is the best way to help the massive adoption for blockchain and crypto world?
I would definitely say create user interfaces where we don't know that blockchain technology is back in the back end. Such as, for example, right now we are streaming through voice technology. However, we don't know how voice processing technology works, but we are still here. Therefore, I would say, why is Coinbase one of the most valuable companies in crypto? Because it has two buttons, buy and sell. So I would say building solutions that have extremely simple user faces and doesn't have any UI mention of blockchain, as well as then on the other hand, no-code solution. Think about, for example, WordPress. 95% of the population don't know how to build great website. However, when you have WordPress and Wix, you can just plug and play together great websites. So if we could plug and play smart contracts, if we could plug and play dApps, I definitely think there would be higher adoption. And a third point would be education through user cases rather than only through technology, because right now people know that blockchain is useful. However, they don't have enough examples on how they can right now go to their business and deploy it, and they also don't have technological resources. So this goes hand in hand with the no-code interfaces.
Thanks a lot. I'll have a question based on your answer later on, but let's have some other inputs here. Vanya or Akshita?
Yeah.
What would be your take?
So I completely agree with what's been said. I think a couple of points that I'd like to add over here would be that for massive adoption of blockchain and crypto world to take place, the first step is awareness, right? There's still a lot of absence of awareness in a lot of Web2 folks about what blockchain really is, what use cases blockchain can offer, what crypto really is, and the use cases that crypto can offer itself. So, for instance, in India, I don't know if you guys have heard, but recently this new project started where you can file FIRs, which is basically criminal complaints on blockchain, so that everything is public and on chain, right? Similarly, we also have a lot of there's a board called CBSE in India, which has exams for 10th and 12th graders, which is your university students abroad, where all of these papers are put on chain so that papers can't be leaked, because that's something very common that happens in India, where papers get leaked or sold off to students so that they can, cheat on their tests. So the idea is to expand the use cases of blockchain and adopt it on every level. That is the governmental level, that is through companies, that's through colleges, etc. And that's probably how we can ensure massive adoption of blockchain and the crypto world, right? That's kind of how I see it.
Actually, I have to mention here.
Very full answer. Yeah, please go ahead.
Our company Fire is the one that provides for Indian government are more licensing as well as criminal cases on chain. So we started from the state of Assam, and right now we are obviously expanding elsewhere. So it's our company. But thank you for mentioning it. Yes.
That's amazing. That's great. Yeah.
Such a great example of great projects uniting other great projects. I mean, this is probably one of the best showcase for Web3. It's when everything is interconnected and you can like multiply the effect of your efforts by working on something together. Vanya, perspective of the Yellow Network or your personal on the best way to help the massive adoption of blockchain and crypto?
Okay, so speaking about massive adoption, crypto is in a really interesting stage right now because in some way, crypto industry, especially trading related and cryptocurrency related stuff, are repeating some of the stock market mistakes which were actual things in the last century. So speaking about mass adoption, from the one hand, we have to increase the reliability and the security of the current solutions. And from the other hand, we have to implement the new solutions that have to match the potential customer needs. So speaking about like the massive adoption, one of the mandatory missing things which we currently have right now in the industry, it is that the majority of the people are unfortunately not educated enough to operate with blockchain on their own. That's why even some kind of typical statements like you don't have your private keys, you don't have your tokens are still actual thing. And for most of the people, it's just simply not easy to operate with some kind of cold wallets, with this kind of seed phrases, with private keys. And unfortunately, it just takes a bit more time for the newer generation to come, to help the older generations with it, to pursue the... yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So basically, we're in this kind of stage when the mass adoption is relied upon our current activities. So what is like the main approaches for crypto right now is that we have to proceed some kind of filtration from the projects that are here only for this kind of popping and dumping mechanics, who are not interested in like the developing of their own communities or some kind of other blockchain utilities. And that's actually exactly what is going on right now.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah,
sorry.
Please go ahead.
I was just adding a follow-up to what he just said, which is just having, in specifics to crypto adoption, what we realized when we talked to a lot of Web2 people in India was that a lot of people see crypto as very risky, right? Which is true, of course. It's very risky. It's very volatile. With the market conditions right now, with the news that's coming out, it only creates more barriers between Web 2 and Web 3 than we'd like, obviously. And so I'd say for the mass adoption in such a negative PR area that crypto is in right now, it's very important to create safe spaces for people. So for instance, what we're trying to do at Flaq is with the interactive simulations that we have, we allow people to, let's say, create a wallet or swap tokens and do all of these things without actually putting their money in, or without actually risking or without actually having that risk factor that crypto brings in, right? And then when they feel more comfortable with the market, more comfortable with these phrases that we throw at them, such as seed phrase or private key or public key, etc., it becomes easier for them to onboard themselves and actually adopt crypto itself in the utilities that it has to offer. And I definitely agree with Vanya on the fact that we need to do better ourselves in terms of creating trust in Web2 folks for adopting crypto, right? So that's just one follow-up thing I wanted to add. Yeah.
Actually, on that set, I once again want to mention that Flaq simulations on Web3 is something that we're planning to integrate into our Web3 course. So people who are just starting will be able to like test all the things that we're teaching without any risks. So actually, coming back to Vilma, your statement, I was gonna ask, like, what do you think is the best way for businesses to implement Web3 or like to help Web3 progress without harming it? because you know, when like Web3 becomes this like buzzword, there's lots of bad actors. So it's like, what would be the solution, the advice for the businesses and also for users to avoid having any sort of problems?
Do not add any layers because innovation means improving the processes. So take off layers rather than adding additional layers, and secondly, simplifying the current existing process rather than making it more difficult, of course. And thirdly, I would say either increase transparency or increase speed or increase traceability. However, I definitely say that it needs to meet the core business objective of either innovating, so improving, or disrupting, so changing behavior.
Okay, thank you. Guys, do you have anything to add here? Maybe precisely on the advices for users part, because I see there's actually one question. Our viewer is asking, how can we earn from Web3? And so I sense that this sort of mindset is something that can get some people in trouble here. So what would be your advice on getting into Web3 and not finding any troubles?
So I would actually say that a lot of people. Oh, sorry. No, please go ahead.
Go ahead, please, go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say that when we're looking at earning, there are two aspects, right? One is can I trade in crypto and earn? And two is, can I get a job in Web3 and earn through that? So if I'm talking about the first aspect, I see that as something that's very, very, very prevalent in Web2 folks, where they see Web3 or crypto as a space where people just go trade, earn some money, come out of it, right? That's not very true. There's a lot more to our space than just offering crypto trading itself. And the second aspect, if we talk about earning, which is actually, can I come into Web3? Can I get a job? Can I apply the skills that I've learned in Web2 and sort of add value to the community? I think that would be a better aspect in terms of the tangent of thinking on how can I earn from Web3. I would say because Web3 is expanding constantly, we have new companies, new projects, new chains coming up very, very often. There's a lot of demand for new talent to come in different tech and non-tech roles. That's something that's important to talk about as well, which is that I am a non-tech person. So before I actually transitioned into Web3, I deemed Web3 as a space to be entirely tech-oriented, whereas I realized that there's so much non-tech in Web3 as well, right? So the idea is to probably create more awareness about the non-tech job opportunities that we have available in Web3, something such as a community manager that probably isn't even a very prevalent job in Web2, or DevRel, right? Things like that. So maybe that's a more preferable tangent to take, is whether I can join Web3 and get a good job out of it and then contribute to the community and obviously then earn out of it. That's probably how I would recommend Web2 folks to look at Web3.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's move on to the next question. So this one. What is the best reason why people should use Web3 or like learn about Web3? It's like how to not get behind in the technology. Like, why do you think that it's important to be getting into it?
I would say,
yeah, the Moonion guest is back, so yeah, let's.
Okay, so what is the most interesting reason why people should use Web 3.0? I think this is, of course, important for everyone by themselves. My most interesting reason was that I wanted to free myself from the standardization of the world. You go to work, you make your money, you pay your taxes, you come home, you eat, shit, sleep, and the next day everything starts again. While in the Web3, you have the first opportunity to be whoever you want to be. In this real world, we have a lot of racism, discrimination, and a lot of negative things that don't allow a lot of people to come where they need to be. While in Web3, you can be anybody or nobody and still accomplish great things. As you see, there is no need for me to put my picture here, but I am on a live AMA with an amazing project like Yellow and the others, of course, while not even showing my face. And I think this is one of the most interesting reasons to be in Web 3.0 because you can be anything you want to be if you work hard enough.
It's a very beautiful and passionate explanation, actually. I quite like it. Vilma?
I would say the core reason for me and for many others is to be get access to participate in open source projects, participate and build with anybody around the world. There's 8 billion people. If I'm in Web 2, I don't have access to people with who I don't know. In Web 3, I can work with anybody regardless of who they are, as well as the public anonymity. We know what each other are accomplishing, but we still don't know who they are. And thirdly, I would say ownership of data, the knowledge that nobody is selling our data for their profit consciously, but we have our self ownership of the actions that we make, as well as can freely move through any type of startup that is building anywhere around the world and directly tap into the financial opportunities that they are bringing, no matter if they are in Brazil or if they are in Hong Kong. So I don't need to even know where they are. The whole world is in your hand, and you can access with a few steps to financial products anywhere around the world, as well as govern companies that you didn't know yesterday about.
Great, thank you so much. Vanya? The last bit?
It's usually tough to add something after this kind of colleagues who cover most of the topic. But just not to duplicate myself, right? And just to say something in addition to what was already said, that most of the Web3 applications, they are not well designed yet right now, right? Because they didn't have any possibilities to to check the potential bottlenecks. We didn't have we don't have the really a lot of good and bad experiences of the other projects who made the huge rises and huge downs, right? So most of these ups and downs are related to tokenomics and the token prices. But in reality, as you can say, even during the bear market, some of the projects are increasingly getting better, because bear markets is a good time for building, right? And as soon as most of the projects are community driven and developed and powered by some kind of developers, and these developers are increasing their skills from the day to day. So what do we mean here? That not all of the cards were already shown, and some of them will be shown in the very nearest future. And as soon as this kind of sphere is really, really young, and it's evolving from the day to day, you have to be on touch with the technology, just not to be late. So what do I mean here? Why it is important for the users and for the developers to be part of that Web3? It's because from the one hand, they get their first recognition, and from the other hand, they get their they get their first ownership of something. So it's not like it used to be when you kind of write some piece of code, you get some kind of small salary for it, and you're done. So basically, Web3 gives the users and the potential guys who use it, who develop it, who maybe participates in some kind of audits or something like this. In the end of the day, it gives them the ability to own a piece of this stack, a piece of this site, a piece of this application. And it's exactly what basically we were speaking of when we started to mentioning some kind of financial stability, financial independence. It's exactly what Web3 provides us.
I would still love to say one word. I believe it's limitless.
I think I lost my connection just for a second.
Yes.
I think it's good for me.
Okay, great. There's actually one really interesting question that I would like to ask you. How many years do we have before Web 4.0 kicks in? So how should we define Web 4 if we're like only starting with Web 3? And why are people always looking for the next thing?
I would say around 2030, where interactivity will be at the stage with 6G, that, for example, when you are in a metaverse, you can be virtually immersed in it with augmented reality while walking on the street. For example, if you're walking in a shopping center, you will see the plates of the restaurants in front of you without going inside or without asking the menu. Where mixed reality is more a reality, and payments can be made cross-chain in any network, including with central bank digital currencies embedded. So it doesn't matter which payment system or cryptocurrency, digital currency, stablecoin you are using. Everything happens in seamlessly, possibly through any type of attached devices such as ring, or for example glasses, or it can be even a chip in you. But when it's embedded into body, when you are immersed on it, and when there is no more challenges of separating reality from virtual, when it's combined, we can speak about the Web 4.0. And in addition to that, the seamlessness of you not realizing, other than your behavior having been changed, would be the corner step of when we would be talking about the progress of Web 4.0.
I think it's very interesting that Vilma has already envisioned a Web 4.0. And it's super cool to see the different perspectives that we bring in over here. But I would say, so I was very interestingly listening to a panel yesterday. There's ETH India happening in India, right? So there's India Blockchain Week taking place. So we have like a lot of different organizations come in and do events. So at the File Orbit event, there was a panel of VCs wherein one of the top VCs in India actually said that all of us need to slow down because we are still at day one of Web3, which is very true. We are still at day one of Web3. We're still a very small community. As much as it looks like it's a large community to us, there's so much of Web2 that hasn't transitioned into Web3 yet. So I think I would say, for a definitive answer for how many years do we have Web 4 to kick in, probably can't put a number to it, but I'd say maybe a good 4 or 5 years, because Web 3 still has to see a lot of mass adoption. Then Web 4 has to be ideated. We have companies and projects coming up in Web 4, and then Web 4 has to see its adoption as well, right? So I think that's how I would look at it. But Vanya, I would love to hear your opinion on that too.
Yeah, to be honest, it's maybe a bit of science fiction here is going on about Web 4.0. But how I see it right now is like, let's say the migration from previous version of Web to the next one is highly also related to the technical background of what kind of PCs and tech you have right now. So it's not kind of a secret that all kind of processors and RAM memories are like increasing, like, you know, this kind of rule, which is duplicates like every year. So what do I mean here? It's really most likely that we're gonna see something really spectacular in the following 5 or 7 years, which is related to let's say new type of computers, right? So we already have some kind of quantum computers. We have some kind of analogies to this. And what do I mean here? As soon as we hardly rely most of our like common stuff to a blockchain in the future, right? So as already said, it could be not only trading, but like many kind of other spheres where actually can be implemented with blockchain, right? And as soon as it's all math related, right? Blockchain is it's really much about math, about coding, about encryption, about potentially, you know, this kind of not broken encryption. But what do I say here? as soon as some kind of new type of power, like a quantum computers, will be highly applicable to the users, it will highly affect the Web3 itself. Because we right now we can't even imagine how it will influence. Maybe some of the dudes in some kind of very, very interesting university will set up some kind of PC and will break Bitcoin code, or will try to maybe mint some tokens which have to be not mintable. So it's really hard to give some kind of thresholds here or some kind of limits. It can be just moved upside down in a week or in a month. And why is it important? Because the current developers have to they have to keep in touch. They have to keep their their fingers on a pulse, just to understand is the tech you're working on, is it still make sense now, in 1 year, in 2 years? Is it potentially breakable or not? Is it potentially hackable or not? Because all this kind of technical background, it influences our decisions every day. And as soon as you will try to isolate on it and work only on your topic, you will be most likely you will be catch up by someone, and in the not great result in the end of the day. So Web for just personal opinion, Web 4.0 will start as soon as we have something miraculous with quantum computers.
That's very cool. I really like the difference between opinions and ideas that we have in this group. For me, I think also for Web3 to Web 4 is Web3 started, I think, somewhere in 2014, 16 or so, when Ethereum was created. And I think we're still very, very early. I think with the technology advancements that are happening right now, we will see exponential growth in adoption and in technology. I have no idea how many years it will take before Web 4 kicks in, but I think that we, as my colleague from India said, crypto is just in the early innovators part. I think early adapters maybe. So there is so much more adoption to come, and I think that will bring more technology advancement until something miraculous happens, and that's when we go into Web 4.
Thank you so much. I do want to mention that I'm really loving this conversation we're having, and it's so great to have you guys gathered together and hear so many really important insights and opinions. So everything we're talking about is positive, and there's many opportunities that Web3 opens. But now here's this very sort of painful question. So that's something that's been going on in the cryptosphere for some time now, and I think we could address it. If Web3 is so good, why did Sam do what he did? I think it's probably a more generic thing of, if it's so great to have this decentralized Web3 that enhances our lives, why are there still bad actors and negative events like that happening? They definitely harm the industry, and they harm even that little trust that people have in this new technology.
I would love to go ahead, because Sam had a Web2 product that is selling access to trading Web3 assets. So obviously his exchange is not a Web3 product. And also, in terms of why did that happen, due to the fact that if you check existing dexes, you will obviously be able to do auditing. However, in this case, it was mostly media stunt on improving the position of this person, as well as his fund. So I would say that challenges will happen in times of change, always. However, the core is what did we learn from it, and how we can right now improve the transparency, which is the core pillar of Web3. So we would definitely need to focus more on building Web3 products on top of Web3. But however, the Web3 infrastructure to build on it is not yet there. So it's not that I can right now build comprehensive 100% Web3 solutions, because in many cases it's not possible.
Exactly. I think I would say that with the whole FTX thing that went down, exactly what Vilma said, which is that it's actually a Web 2 failure, not a Web 3 failure. But the way that it's been spun is obviously that, it's centralization, and there's lesser trust in the system and things like that. And so I would say that A, we learn from what's happened and we improve, and B, that we don't further the agenda of, Web3 is not an all utopian altruistic world, right? It's also just an advancement of what Web2 was. And so as much as we have good actors in Web3, we'll also have bad actors in Web3. And it's about how we curb the effects of what these bad actors do, and how we bring in how we focus on the core values of Web3 really is, which is decentralization, which is adding more trust in the system, which is the entire idea of owning the data, the entire idea of owning your identity, being more accountable, all of these aspects, right? We cannot negate the fact that bad actors will exist in Web3, and probably such things that have happened with FTX or with the Luna crash or anything that may happen in the future is probably still yet to happen. All we can do from our side in Web3 is reduce the effects of these bad actions, right? And that's what probably all of our projects are working towards.
Yeah, just to continue this idea that FTX itself, it didn't have much similar and much familiar with Web3 as it had to be, because it was a centralized solution. And to give a simple analogy, Sam in his place was like a person with huge hammer, and no one has any kind of power to do anything with it. So basically, he did centralized solution. He did manual management of the assets, and as a result, it was heritage, right? So basically, we see it. And in the end of the day, this tragedy was the biggest advertisement for the Web3 solutions, because it's you see how it can be, and we provide the solution to dodge this kind of situation. So yeah, just for the analogy, Web3 is more if we talk about trading, in Web3, it has to be in another kind of way. You have some kind of several participants, and each of those have to be interested into the idea that the network itself has to be decentralized, it has to be reliable and secure, right? In math, you have this kind of, there was a mathematician, Nash, and he implemented this kind of Nash equations, right? So basically, there is some kind of point when some point is reached and all the participants are agreed on it. And so basically going away from the solution brings disadvantage to all of the participants, right? And it's absolutely nothing that was at FTX, because there were no numerous of some kind of independent participants. There were no some kind of independent partners. It was just a centralized solution. And as soon as it was not regulated enough, it was not well regulated enough with all kind of politics and etc., we have what we have. So yeah, just to compare it, to compare what Sam did, Web3 is good because Web3 exchanges or Web3 crypto-related solutions will be smart contract based. So basically, there will be no some kind of Sam who will just jump into and change the code, because it will be impossible to do. Most likely.
I also kind of like this question. I think it's funny a bit. If Web3 is so good, why did Sam do what he did? Well, I don't know what one has to do with the other. I think why Sam did it is because of greed. Taking $8 billion of money is a really good reason to do something like this. Well, it's still bad, but I can understand it. And as you guys already mentioned, Web3, it wasn't really Web3. If this was decentralized, it couldn't have happened. But because it was a central exchange, it did. So that is the reason.
Right answers. And actually, I think we also basically gave an answer to the next question about someone saying that they think Web2 is more reliable than Web3. Well, with the FTX story, we can actually have an evidence of the fact that Web2 can actually not be a very safe space, so to speak. Let me move to the next question. Which areas are you focusing on the moment? DeFi, staking, or dApps, and what are your goals for this and the next year? So apart from this question, maybe we could also like address some other use cases for Web3 or like areas where Web3 can be applied, because it seems that many people tend to think about it as mostly some like DeFi, staking protocols, etc. And there's like so many more things to it.
As mentioned before on our side, for example, in the India case, it was smart policing, so tracking of licensing, tracking of criminal records, as well as what we do is we do voting systems for government so that they cannot fake the voting process. And in addition to that, digital identity. So that right now, for example, there's 1 billion people that don't have access to banking, and there are 1 billion people who also don't have access to identity. So access to identity gives you access to banking, and access to banking gives you access to loans, gives you access to credits. Something that we also do is land registry on chain. There are countries where 90% of the whole land, there is no any land registry, and there is no any place where one can go and clarify, okay, I own land. And independently, if you own this land, you cannot take a loan against it because you cannot verify that you own it because you don't have identity document. So obviously in this case, when we consider 1 billion people not having access to identity, we are talking about countries such as, for example, Central Africa, Rwanda, Nigeria, multiple South American countries, as well as Philippines, Indonesia, etc. So with blockchain overall and with Web3, we enhance access to loans and even access to education, access to, for example, loan against revenue, any type of access to financial governance or individual needs where you need a proof to provide that you exist, or you need access to money.
Thank you so much. That's really a great point when we're talking about the social impact of Web3 being going mainstream. Akshita, maybe you have something to add?
I think I completely agree with what Vilma said. I also would like to just add that what Web3 can do is actually have an impact on every industry, right? It's not just your tech world. It's not like what they're doing with voting. That's amazing, right? Like, we never thought that we would have blockchain being integrated in your everyday elections to choose our leaders. So that's pretty cool. The fact that we have blockchain being integrated in your exams, the fact that we have blockchain being integrated in the healthcare industry now. I also heard someone is trying to expand blockchain in India with respect to public transport being more accessible. So the amount of innovation that Web3 can bring in can actually span across every individual industry that exists presently right now. And I think that's where our goals lie, which is probably that's where everybody in Web3, like that's where all of our goals lie, which is to expand the adoption across different industries and come up with newer solutions, newer innovative solutions on how we can integrate the values of Web3 into every industry that exists, right? And that's exactly what Flaq and what Yellow is also aiming to do with our universities and encouraging Web3 awareness and education to focus on adoption, right? So I'm very happy that we're doing this collaboration, because I think the more that we educate people, the more that people learn about it, the more that it gives them the bandwidth to actually think of, okay, what else use cases can we come up with this? That's the only way that we can actually expand, right? So I think that's my take on this question.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you so much. All right. We will be taking two, then I will take a couple minutes to answer the university ones, and we will be wrapping things up. So here's one that I particularly like. How can I explain Web3 to my grandma in a very simple terms, assuming that she knows about Web2 like Facebook? Well, like, first of all, I'm like really envious about you having a grandma that wants to understand Web3. But yeah, it's just a very like simple question, simple answer. Please go ahead.
You can send me money without bank, and you can see a message without Facebook or WhatsApp existing. Just me and you connecting.
Okay, Vanya, your take on this question?
Okay, yeah. So first of all, we can deepen here. But in a nutshell, you can tell your grandma that, for example, if she owns her Facebook page right now, she just owns a piece of database, right? So basically, it's some kind of bits which are written on some kind of server which belongs to Facebook. And in the end of the day, if some kind of fraudulent user will get your, login and email of your grandma, he will just join her account and he will just go to her DMs and he will be able to write anything to her friends, to her relatives, and etc. So basically, that account doesn't belong to your grandmother. She basically has the right to go into it and use it. So in my opinion, what Web3 provides us is basically the higher security here. So especially with the development of soul-bean tokens, which were like mentioned in the last quarter, I believe, by Vitalik and some other developers, right? So what do we mean by soul-bean token here? It's some kind of entity which allows you to spend less time on some kind of, not very fun activities. So for example, it could be some kind of NFT-based KYC token, right? So something similar when you don't have to pass the KYC procedure on, for example, on any exchange or on any website. It could be for Web3 that you just pass, for example, KYC once, you get some kind of NFT-based token, right? And it's basically there is written that this user is checked. He is not terrorist. He is not like some kind of, PEP person. Like he is allowed to do these kind of services, and that's all. So basically, you can explain to your grandma that Web3 introduces a way of doing some kind of logins, doing some kind of, maybe social interactions, doing some kind of even transactions for her pension or for maybe some kind of personal transfers. And it's going to be in the more secure way. Because basically Web3 will leave very, 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 very low amount of different, possibilities for hackers to go into your account and basically do some kind of actions without your approval or permissions. Like in reality, in my opinion, most likely we will see some kind of, mixed confirmations when, for example, for fulfilling some transaction, I think it can be even in 1 year or in a year and a half. Just to fulfill something which is very important for you, you will, for example, have to maybe do some kind of face recognition, do some kind of password, and after that you will have to log in with some kind of maybe specific wallet where you have some kind of specific soul-bean token as well. So how can you explain Web3 to your grandma? You can say it. It's more complicated by safe way of using your assets. And these assets can be cryptocurrencies or not cryptocurrencies. Yeah. I think like we already see it in the in the approach of NFT, how it's usually done, because not any asset, not every, like, let's say, digital entity has this kind of specific calculated value. Most of the value are inspired by our emotional attachments to the things. And as soon as more Web3 entities will appear and they're not related to some kind of financial industry, the more and more, this kind of emotional connections will appear in the society. And how it comes right now, when people see something around and he's interested in it, he wants to participate in it also. It was the same with, in 90s, it was with Pokemon cards. In early zeros, it was with first cell phones. Again, it was like with smartphones. And this Web3 as, let's say, as a whole event is gonna be very similar to that. As soon as people will see the really, really useful and convenient utilities, and they will see the usage by other people from it, they will also jump in the same boat.
I need to leave now, but thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
I think it's challenging to answer this question. It depends, like, what does the grandma know? But I think I would explain it in a way like, okay, grandma, how you put pictures on Facebook? Instead of just putting it on Facebook for free, now you can sell it on Facebook and people can buy it from you with their own coin or something. So I don't know, difficult question, but I like it. I personally have to leave too. Thank you so much, guys, for. Or are we almost done, Anastasia?
Yes, we're actually done. There's just one more question about public chains.
Sure.
So you can basically, yeah, let me just jump right onto it. So at present, multi-chain development is the trend. How many projects will be, like many projects will be deployed on various public chains? Do you plan to expand them like in the future? I think this is something we could also answer from like Yellow Network standpoint. Just a quick answer to that.
I think Moonions is building the Mooniverse, where we are going to deploy the Mooniverse in all different kind of chains. I think that is best for most adoption because every chain has its own users. So yes, the best thing is to be on all different kind of chains and make it as safe as possible to create as much adoption as possible.
So even with respect to Flaq, we are multi-chain, which is that our interactive simulations are available on all chains, which is Solana, Ethereum, Algorand, Cosmos, Aptos, etc., everything. Because the idea is that you make the Web2 user comfortable with the UI or the use cases of every chain, and then they can choose where they want to adopt themselves onto or onboard themselves onto, right? So that's the idea. I think the trend is very much on point. I think multi-chain is something that will be the trend moving forward as well from most Web3 projects that I've been seeing, because it's only better to give more choices in terms of security, in terms of privacy, and in terms of use cases to the Web2 folks that we're trying to onboard.
Great, thank you so much. And Vanya, closing technology statement about how Yellow Network unites different blockchains.
Once again, from the one hand, multi-chain is good because it's convenient for people like to move their assets in case they don't have enough assets from the on the another chain, right? But what do we see right now? It's like one of the key problems which our Yellow Network is trying to fight in with. It's the fact that most of the liquidity is actually fragmented between all of the networks, right? And as soon as this liquidity is fragmented between the various networks, there could be some kind of possibilities when you see the lack of liquidity on the specific ones. So yeah, it's kind of handling multi-chain is a trend. But it's kind of deal breaker that as soon as you have very, very, very many chains and you're trying to maintain them independently and in the same time, you have to get that much liquidity to maintain all of them, right? Because maintaining 5 chains and maintaining 2 chains is like completely different story. So that's why we introduced our smart contract-based solution, which was like basically state channels. What we're trying to do is like to move this kind of entities which were like presented only on chain previously, but we move them to the off-chain stuff. So basically, we kind of, from the one hand, we are maintaining still having multiple amounts of different chains. But from the other hand, as soon as the transactions and all the statuses are updated on the off-chain, we still save a lot of money on the fees. We still not kind of forced to use the bridges, which we don't actually like, because the bridges are expensive. They're still you can see it nowadays. Maybe the guys checked the today's news. It was also related to the hack on the BNB chain, when one guy just got enormous amounts of hundreds of thousands of wrapped tokens, for 10 BNB, right? It's horrible. And one of the reasons it's available for fraudsters right now, it's because everyone wants to have the multi-chain. Everyone puts enormous amounts of bridges, and unfortunately, it's really tough to handle all of them.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, with that said, I once again thank you for joining our stream, and I hope that it was educational. Well, I'm sure that it was educational, because there were just so many topics that we touched upon and so many cool questions that we answered. I'm sure that some of you have to go. If you do, you may go. I will just answer a couple questions about the university.
Yes, I'll be dropping out. So thank you so much for having us over here. And Flaq is very, very happy to collaborate with Yellow, and it was very nice speaking to everyone over here and hearing their perspectives with respect to Web3 and the future of Web3. So thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Same goes for Moonions, guys. Thank you for inviting us, and have a great day.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, Nastya.
You want to disconnect as well?
If I'm not needed here about the university, yeah, most likely, yeah. But I can stay if you want.
Yeah, let's just stay together for 1 minute, and then we can both leave. So, is there any good Web3 educational platform which is accessible in multi-languages? So I just wanted to say that, yes, for now we're having the Yellow University in English, and that's how we will be continuing for some time. But just as well as we're thinking about launching more Yellow communities in different languages later on, it's also very likely that we will have multi-languages educational materials. So please hang on, stay tuned to the announcements. As for the tests, so there are some tests that are already added on the platform. You can check right now. There will be more coming up soon. And then the last question about the NFT certificate, and sure it will be valued worldwide. What I can tell you for sure that it will definitely be valued worldwide, especially for the Web3 projects and by any entities that actually accept the concept of Web3. Now, for anyone, any other questions about the university platform, please make sure to refer to our moderators in our Yellow org chat on Telegram, and do stay tuned for more announcements. Thank you so much. This stream will be uploaded to our educational platform, so you will be able to access it there or on our YouTube at any time. And see you next Friday on another educational live stream from Yellow University. Thank you, Vanya. Thank you, everyone present. Bye.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you for